Here you go.
We can hear you and see you.
Okay.
You at least have our audience.
Yes, I read the newsletter and thank you for saying it's been many, many years. And I was thinking, when did this organization start? Like
79, or is this 91, 92?
90,
I think it was 89 officially.
89, because we use that as
Yes.
Yeah, it's, I think I was probably not that much after that my first time here. And this is a new building for me, and we've had some interesting, this hybrid technology, trying to get two computers, an old projector that doesn't have the right ports on it, has been a challenge. So, I don't have a PowerPoint. I know Mickey doesn't like PowerPoints anyway. Yesterday when my brother came into work, his hand was just completely swollen. He fell in our parking lot, believe it or not. Our parking lot just a flat concrete parking lot. And he went to the hospital, University Hospital's in the area. 2 broken bones. They had to put the finger back into the socket, which had to be painful.
Oh my God.
And he has like 4 stitches. And he was in the hospital from 10:30, and he actually came back to work at around 5. So yesterday was supposed to be my day to prepare for this meeting. But needless to say, what I've done is I've just scribbled down a bunch of notes last night to kind of give a history of what the last year has been like for our company.
Yeah. Some
new technologies and things that I've seen, how this business has changed. I mean, even being right here today, trying to get all this technology to work. It's amazing when it does work. And it's also amazing how many big companies that you would think would know how to make it work have struggled with it. I mean, it's not just us. It's difficult. So I just made some rough notes here. As you all know, there's been a shortage of just about everything on the market, not just technology, but building materials, automobiles, you name it. So I was just thinking that in our business the last 12 months, if we order Intel or AMD processors, our wait list is 7 to 9 months before we get product.
Wow.
If we go to Amazon, Newegg, B&H Photo, those big e-tailers, they have them. Now you pay more money for them, but the way I tell our customers is you can wait 7 to 9 months or you pay a pauper. The hardest thing to get right now is NVIDIA graphics cards. The 3060, 3070, and 3080 are their state-of-the-art graphics cards. NVIDIA stock, I'm lucky to have, I own it. It's been doing really well because every Tesla automobile, which is a fast-growing car company, uses NVIDIA chips to control multiple functions of the car. There's also something called bit mining, where people buy computers and they run 24/7 running algorithms to find a Bitcoin, which can be lucrative. I mean, they're very, Bitcoins go up and down in value. So I have NVIDIA graphics cards that orders for over 9 months. I've got a waiting list. I just can't get them. Once again, I can pay triple the cost and get them. And I have customers paying the price. They want one, so they pay for it. On notebooks, 1 to 3 months. Monitors, you think monitors would be easy, there's a glass shortage. So I've got monitors, we just got 30 more monitors in yesterday. Those are on order for about 3.5 months. We got them in. Printers, some printers 7 to 12 months lead time. Projectors, Ely Public Library just got opened up a new branch in downtown area. They ordered projectors from us in March, and they got them last week. And the library was already open, but what are you gonna do? I tell them go somewhere else if you can find it, but they can't. So not only is there a shortage, but there's just been an unprecedented demand. I mean, our businesses just went through the roof over the last 18, 19 months, whenever the pandemic started, because people are at home. They're afraid to go out, but they still want to communicate. Things like Zoom meetings with their family and friends, and businesses are doing it. Schools are doing it. All the students are, a lot are still have an option to work from home or go to school if they want. The federal stimulus money has been huge, especially for us, because our primary market is school systems, K through 12. We supply most of the schools in Lorraine County, Cuyahoga County, a lot of them. And of course, people got their money from the government too, $1,000, whatever. So some of them just go out and buy a new computer. So all that also means prices have gone up. in our business, and I've been doing this for 30, 40 years, prices always go down and the equipment always gets better, faster and cheaper, faster and cheaper. The last 18 some months, it's been the opposite. Prices have gone up and there just hasn't been that much, improvement on stuff. So we're seeing a little bit of a difference there. So one of the things I like about our business has been that all of our suppliers would fly me all over the country for these seminars, conferences, conventions, whatever you want to call them. And they put you up in a nice fancy hotel. You go to meetings all day, and then at night you wine and dine, you intermingle with your fellow people, and they have entertainment and so forth. Well, with the COVID, we don't do that anymore. So not to say I'm sick of Zoom meetings, but I'm really sick of Zoom meetings because you don't really get the face-to-face that you get in real life. Well, that's the fact of the matter. So I've learned more about mixology classes because what they do is they'll send me, like last month, AMD sent me a box that had like all these little tiny bottles that you see on the airplanes of liquor with all these ingredients. Like they had like it's called edible sprinkles, and we made like some Halloween drinks. They're really pretty good. It was really good because it was free. And you have like a celebrity mixologist do the how to make it. Last week, I thought I was going to have. This is pretty cool.
That's what they sent you.
I don't know if you can see this, but it says Windows 11 on.
Oh.
So I thought I had this presentation today that if I go to this Zoom meeting and I listen to Microsoft reps talk about Windows 11, maybe I'll be able to have something for the meeting. Well, they this is what I do for my business. So anyway, this was last week, Wednesday, a guy by the name of Tom Colicchio, who's on the Food Network. We made sausage stuffing with caramelized leek and sage, which was really good, but they gave us so much we couldn't eat it all. But it was kind of fun because you get to talk to the chef and you say, well, this guy's on TV and all this kind of cool stuff. So this is what we do now. So we have to go to like a Zoom meeting to hopefully learn something. And these Microsoft reps, I don't know how much they get paid, but they're probably six figures. And they don't know anything about what they're, I thought I'd get some like cool stuff, because you guys all know about computers, that they could give me some insight to help you get motivated and to get Windows 11. And they just talked about like, Windows is so cool and it's like a history of Microsoft, but nothing of any meat or value. So I wasted an hour of my day watching this Microsoft guys just talking about nothing. It was a total waste. But I did get to get, but I got the free dinner and got to see the chef. And next week, there's a big one that's coming up, a Zoom meeting where they've got some famous band that's like young kids I've never heard of. But it's gonna be like a live band. And we also get like the free drinks and the free, but it's all at your house, which is just,
And they won't stampede you.
well, yeah, but I don't like these meetings because they usually do them during the day. And I work during the day. So what I do is I have the meeting on, but inevitably the phone rings, customers walk in. I never really get a chance to do a full attention to the meetings. So anyway, that's what it's been like. So Intel has a really hard time selling processors. So what do they do? But they just released their 12th generation CPU last week. Their 12th generation CPU has hooks into Windows 11. So it is considered obviously the best processor on the market. It uses a new chipset, it uses a new socket, and it uses DDR5 or DDR4 memory. So you can use both. And it's only available in ATX size motherboards, which is like for a little bit larger cases, or ITX, which is for the itty-bitty cases. Like initially, they have no microwave TX form factor yet. Not a big deal, but anyway, so they're starting to ship. They claim, and they claim this about the 11th gen, is that their production is better. They had issues with the substrate that connects the silicon to the die, and they claim they've got that figured out, which Intel makes promises like everybody else, and they very seldom follow through. So anyway, that's what's new from Intel. We expect our shipments of those products to come in shortly. There's going to be K-SKUs, which are unlocked, which means for the overclockers, run it till it burns up. Or you've got your non-K-SKUs, which basically have a limiter on it, how fast it'll work. Also, if you make, and these are all things that people don't really even know anymore, because like, this is just kind of cool stuff, but there's no TV ads, you don't really see any publicity that much, like it used to be in the old days. Remember the Windows 95 where they had the Rolling Stones or somebody, started up type of thing, and it's such a mature industry, we don't really get that anymore.
The Mac versus the PC guy, they were great.
Yeah, those are good commercials, very good commercials. Microsoft also just released Office 2021. How many people knew that?
No.
There we go, fanfare.
I thought 19 was supposed to be the last one.
Well, Windows 10 was supposed to be the last one too.
Right.
So anyway, there's a lot of new technologies coming out. In my opinion, these are all improvements, but nothing radical to the point where you run out and say, I gotta get Office 2021. And I think the same thing holds true with Windows 11, which we're gonna see here in a little bit. So here's my experience with Windows 11, which is not a lot because I just started working with it a week ago. So the computer that I'm on now has Windows 11 on it. It's my home computer that I use for my Zoom meetings because when I use a Chromebook, I keep losing video where it does like that AT&T commercial where the face gets all like pixelated, and those are funny commercials. But so this is a really nice laptop, but I primarily use it mostly for, I have ExpressVPN on it when I watch the Indians, because I can't pick up the Indians till I cut my cable cord, which is a long story. So that's worked really well, although the Indians didn't do well. And I use it for my Zoom meetings. Other than that, that's pretty much what I use it for. So it had Windows 10 on it on Halloween. So I figured, what the heck, on Halloween, I'm gonna upgrade this to Windows 11 and use it for this meeting. So this is an i7 with 16 gigs of RAM, NVMe solid state hard drive. And it took me over an hour to do the Windows 11 upgrade.
Wow.
So I don't know what it would take on a slower computer, but it's a big upgrade for somebody who wants to do it. So I've got Windows 11 on here. I also had a customer come in, it's this young 18-year-old kid with his parents. And he was gonna go to, is it Cyber PC or Cyber Power that makes these gaming computers? And the dad's like, well, do you really wanna go buy it, from there? I said, well, I can sell it for the same price, and plus if you buy local, you got a little bit better support. So what this kid does is I sell him the computer with Windows 11 last week, which is my first install. I didn't make an image of it. I figured it was a high, he got a 3060 graphics card, he got like 32 gigs of RAM, i9, 9900K, it was like a $2,000 computer. He calls me up yesterday and says that his buddy used that, what's that service, TeamViewer, to log in. He was on his computer for 4 hours. He wiped out Windows 11. He put on a bootleg copy of Windows 10 that didn't have the Microsoft Store. He tweaked the BIOS, which literally took every setting in the BIOS and changed it. And he said, but my frame rate was really, really good. I said, okay, well, what do you want? He goes, I need my Microsoft Store. I said, I didn't do this. I mean, you had your buddy do it to tweak your gaming machine. I said, I can put Windows 11 back and I'm not gonna do it for free because you messed it up. It's only a week old. Or you have your buddy should know how to do it. Well, he doesn't know how to do that. He just screwed his computer up. So I said, normally if they were, nice about it, I'd probably make you do it for free and just, okay, because it takes a while to load Windows and all the drivers from scratch. I mean, it's not something just plug it in and it's done. But I said, this kid kind of arrogant, he's a young kid, hot shot, the parents got money. So I told him to pay $100. I said, or have your buddy do it, maybe we'll do it for free. So guess what, he comes in yesterday afternoon. He wants it back to where it was before. So that's my next experience with Windows 11. So,
Wow.
but here's the problem that I feel with Windows 11. Just now, this is from a reseller standpoint like me, not maybe as much as like you. You have to have a Microsoft account to install Windows 11, or it won't. You can't get past the step where you have to have a Microsoft account, which means you have to have a Microsoft email address and of course a password. And none of my customers that come and buy a computer, if they have one, they don't tell me. So I have to make one up. Well, this is going to be a problem because people never remember passwords that they use, let alone passwords that only used once to install an operating system. So this is going to drive me nuts down the road because customers are going to come in and they're going to have their operating system reinstalled. And I'm going to ask them, what's your email and password? And they're not going to know. I'm putting it on all of their, I'm going to put it on the receipt. So if they have their receipt, they'll have it. But, and I also I put a serial number on the back of the computer that tells the date. So I should be able to find it, but there's gonna be one more step that I'm gonna have to do more work on. The other thing I found out is you guys, how many of you have Windows 11 now? No? Windows, okay. Everyone's on Windows 10? Okay. If you remember, in Windows 10, what you could do is you could install a fresh copy of Windows 10 that had a Windows 7 product key, and you could use the Windows 7 product key to activate Windows 10, which is kind of cool because somebody come into our office, maybe a Dell or an Acer or whatever branded computer, and they had Windows 7 sticker on it. I said, well, I can put Windows 10 on, it's gonna be free. You might as well do it, because I think Windows 10 is better than Windows 7, which is really cool. Well, what I found out was you can't load Windows 11 on a brand new computer and use a Windows 10 product key. Makes no sense. I talked to Microsoft, the guys that know nothing, and they said, well, it's just the way it is. Okay, so
You want to cook something instead?
so what you can do though is you can load Windows 10 and activate it, and then you can upgrade to Windows 11. So once again, it's just gonna be an extra step for somebody like me that says, okay, I've got Windows 10 product key sticker still in stock. So I was hoping to be able to put a Windows 10, Windows 11 and just put the Windows 10 sticker on it. Customers don't care, it works. But now I'm gonna have to put Windows 10 on, activate it, and then do the update, which is just more work. Also, in order for Windows 11 to install, Microsoft has hardware specifications, which is kind of good for us and them because the purpose is to sell more computers, which is what we're in business for. So that's all not bad. But one of the things is TPM, or a trusted platform module, is a little chip that's basically been on motherboards for about over 5 years now, that all of the manufacturers of computers had the chip disabled because it's the purpose is in case a computer gets stolen, that a person can't operate it without a Microsoft account that you can pull up along. It's longer than 25-digit number in order to unlock. It's like BitLocker, and it's a feature that's kind of nice, but it's also going to be another pain for me because if somebody, so if somebody has a motherboard real bad, and after you place the motherboard, it's going to come up and not allow you to access the hard drive without a Microsoft account, without a number to unlock it. So that's something that I'm not looking forward to. And the manufacturers of motherboards, what they're doing is, and I'll show you here once I get on the computer, is they're doing BIOS updates. And what the BIOS update is doing is it's enabling the TPM on the motherboard because they realize that the actual end users really don't know how to turn on secure boot and TPM by themselves. So it just becomes difficult. So by doing a BIOS update, that usually takes care of the Windows 11 upgrade. And let's see here. The Windows 11 upgrade rollouts are going to be finished by around mid-2022, which means that you're going to start seeing, remember if you had Windows 7, you start seeing pop-ups about loading Windows 10. Well, if you have Windows 10, you're going to start seeing pop-ups about loading Windows 11. And when you do that, you'll click on, and I'll show you here if we can get my screen shared, on a thing that's called a PC health check. What it does is it basically scans your computer and tells you whether you're able to run Windows 11 or not. So it won't load technically without passing the check. However, like anything else, if you know how to get into the registry or can find some hacks, you can load Windows 11 on a computer that doesn't meet the minimum specs. But Microsoft says you won't be able to get any updates, which to me seems kind of senseless to put Windows 11 on if you won't be allowed to get updates. Just stick with Windows 10 and get updates. That's Microsoft. Windows 10, for all you probably know this, but the end of life for Windows 10 is October of 2025. And we're what, 2021? So we still have 3 to 4 years. So there's really no go home right now and run to get Windows 11 on your computer. And Microsoft says every operating system is going to be around for a minimum of 10 years. So if you think about it, Windows 10 came out in July of 2015. So October of 2025 would be a little over 10 years. And that's kind of what they're doing. It's free, just like Windows 10 was free to Windows 7. Like I said, on this computer, it took me a while to get it updated. And the cooking Microsoft talking heads did say that all the updates on Windows 11 are going to be 40% faster than they are on Windows 10. One of the complaints about Windows, really for a while, it seems like every time you try to use it, there's an update. And the update, you sit there, and you sit there, and you sit there. And then a lot of times you have to get the update, you want to reboot the computer. And then you have to reboot the computer, wait for it to reload. And all you want to do is maybe like check your email or something, which takes a second. And you're sitting there spending 10 minutes just to do a simple task. So what that tells me is they're probably going to make the updates smaller, but they're probably going to be more. Kind of like Google Chrome, like how many people have a Chromebook? Yeah, with a Chromebook, Google's a pretty smart company, is that, it'll say, hit restart to update your Chrome. And it's a small update. Of course, Chrome is a really small operating system, but it's quick and it's easy and it's nice. And it's just going to be difficult for Microsoft to do the same because I almost think of Windows 11, like they say when you put a lipstick on a pig, it still is a pig. Well, Windows 11 is essentially Windows 10. And that's not a good analogy because Windows 10 is nice, but it's kind of like Windows 10, just glorified. What else we got here? The minimum specs you need is you have to have a 64-bit CPU, which if you're running then you shouldn't have a computer if you don't have a 64-bit CPU. 4 gigs of memory, which isn't very much. 64 gigs of space on your hard drive, which isn't very much. The DirectX 12, which is pretty standard, or better. But the key is you got to have the Microsoft account. It has to have TPM enabled, and it does have to have secure boot enabled. And you do need to have a UEFI format, which all the newer computers format that way. So that's not really that big of a spec. And everything that runs on
GPT, not UEFI.
Yeah, GPT. Everything that runs on 10 will run on 11 because the kernel is identical. It's the old, it just looks better. The interface is slicker. They kind of copied Apple. They don't have like Apple products. I mean, okay, it looks like an Apple now. You'll see just a second. Let's see what we can do. So now what we can do is, this is going to be the fun part. I'm going to attempt to run some things on Windows 11 here and see if we can't share the screen and just show some of the differences that are in it. So let's see, I'm going to sit down for this since there's not a high top here. And can
Go ahead and share your screen.
all right,
Yeah, you can just guide it for that.
you got it?
Yeah.
All right, let me know if you can see the screen.
Not yet. You have to share the screen.
Oh, wait, I have to-
Yeah, that would click that, and then the right-hand side. Oh, your little meeting box, yeah, right there.
Okay, can you put the camera P49RLLS on the big screen behind Glenn there? Or if the screen sharing doesn't work?
We don't want that because that's just, we'll see his head real big instead of his desktop.
I need to share my desktop somehow.
Yeah, you go.
I'll let you handle this because you're the Zoom
Okay, I see.
Let's see.
More share screen, and then which one are you gonna use? We don't have one yet. We want a browser, right? Which browser? Edge.
I'm just going to share my actual desktop. I can't do
With
that.
one screen.
No.
Let me see. Yes, you might have multiple screens. Let's just try screens. Yeah.
So that's might be what the Zoomers are saying.
Okay, so you guys can see, yeah.
We see the screen.
Okay. Go ahead and do it.
Okay.
They're saying that.
All right, so let's dig in here. Now, bear in mind that this is all new to me too, so let's take a look and see. The first thing is that I noticed is everything is still here from Windows 10, except they just put it in different places to kind of confuse us. The big thing is, you notice the start button is now in the center of the screen as opposed to over to the left-hand corner.
There's a way to change that.
You can change that. I can show how to change it if you wanted to, but that's the default
They
setting.
wanna look like a Mac.
Yes.
So if I click on the start button, this is what the screen I get, which looks a lot different than what you've seen before. And the biggest difference to me, you'll notice there's the rounded edges of the screen. It used to be, I think it was Windows Vista or Windows 98 that had the rounded corners, and then they went to the square corners. Now they're going back. Remember, it used to be the transparency too. You could actually see through the
Right, glass.
screens, the glass. That's kind of making a comeback. It's like clothes, you know, you have your clothes in the closet and they get outdated, and then, you know, 20 years later, they're back in style, so you don't throw anything away. It's kind of like Windows. I mean, we're back to the curve, and that sort of looking like, you know, the Mac a little bit. Now, when I first started using Windows 11, the first thing I thought was, how do you turn the stupid thing off? Because, you know, I usually go to the lower left-hand corner and click the button and I go down to shutdown. Well, now, if you look in this settings button, you actually go to settings to turn your computer off. Down here is your option to, you know, shut it down or restart it, which to me is kind of weird that you go to settings to power off, but hey, that's Microsoft. So,
Do that again. I didn't see that you actually had that. No, not that part.
No.
Start from scratch. There you go. Because I thought that button was there from the beginning.
well, another thing that besides that, I mean, I couldn't find it out. Maybe there is.
Well, I'm not sure. I wasn't.
And there's probably a way that you could put it somewhere
If
on
you're
the
right, that's
desktop.
stupid. Have to go through all that. just to get-
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing I still don't know how to do, and it's really weird, is that when we get our motherboards in, they usually ship from California. So the time is set for Pacific time, which is 3 hours difference.
Yeah.
So I've only built like one computer plus one at our office, and it's updated one, which didn't matter. But normally I would go to the bottom right-hand corner to change my time. And I would click on it, and I'd be able to right click on it and adjust my date and time, right? Well, there's no way that I can see on how to,
Uncheck the, well, see the drop down next to time zone on the
um,
right, time zone, yeah, right there.
yeah,
Okay, so you can change that.
now how do I change the time? Let's say right now,
Okay.
it's,
All right, it's right now it's set for time automatically, turn that off. Now you should be able to change.
where?
Uh,
I mean, I'm learning to,
Okay, yeah, well, I have to.
the only thing I've been
Try
able to,
clicking on the current date and time now, they've got that off.
up here,
No, up top in the settings.
Very top.
Yeah, no, that's not hyperlink. How about the time itself, where it says 10:57? Try that now. Time zone over there. Oh,
I'll change it, it's date and time.
yeah,
manually.
change, there you go, duh, okay.
All right, so there it is.
All right.
So that's why I'm here, so you guys can teach me something.
We're learning, right?
But what
Hang
I,
on.
what
There's
I
a lot of
found,
that going on.
a cooler way of doing it, which I found, is to click on sync now. You click on sync
Right.
now, it actually goes out to who knows where, and it syncs you to the correct
Well,
time
there
and
it tells
date.
you where, time.windows.com. But yeah, you can do that and still leave it off. Oh, now it says set time, change that back for you.
So just weird stuff like that kind of drives you nuts until you get used to it. Now, maybe once I get used to it, you know, like I had a customer come in with a Windows XP machine last week, and I sort of forgot how to use it. It's been so long since
Right,
I've used XP. The other thing that took me a while to figure out is a lot of times, like when I load like Office for my customers, I always like to put like shortcuts on the desktop. But when you put the shortcut there, it doesn't say like Excel. It has like a really long word, like it says like WinWord something.
Oh.
So what I like to do is like to
the EXE
rename.
name, the
I like,
EXE name.
right, I like to have that up there, so I just like to rename it. Well, in the old days with Windows 10, I could right click
Yeah.
on the desktop, on the icon, and I would go down and I would click on rename.
Right, it's not there.
Well, it took me a while to figure out, so I would always be doing this, where it says show more options. This is what I'm used to seeing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm old school. This is my Windows 10. I could go on to rename and rename it. Well, it took me a while to figure out that actually, if I click on these icons, this is cut.
Huh?
There's my copy. There's my rename. Now that, I never knew there was an icon for rename. What is that supposed to be? I have no idea.
Is that like a control H window? We have the from and to? That looks like what it could be.
It could be, I don't know. And then there is our share. And then there's, of course, the deleted. So just things like this, once again, to more or less irritate me. So for a while, I kept hitting show more options until I finally had a little bit of time. I'd sit down and say, okay, they're up on the top there. So maybe this is better.
Used to be you could double click on it, double long click, or double pause click on it to rename. Can you do that still?
Oh, you mean like,
Click on it once and then click on it again, or click on the name, I should say. Click on that and now it won't let you.
no,
Oh, there it is. You can do that.
okay, all right, so there you go.
That still works too. Okay, good.
That's the secret quick way of doing it.
There's always a couple ways, but
Yeah,
find them.
Okay.
right.
So let's get back to this, the new thing here, which is down here.
Okay, so you just brought that up straight. You didn't have to go into settings.
No,
Okay, when you said you had to go into settings first.
no, you have to click on here
The
first.
start, okay.
You have to hit start first.
It's still.
Mhm. Then you turn it off
So
there.
that's the automatic.
Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
And this is the biggest change that I've seen so far is you click on settings, and this is what comes up. Windows Update, you used to have to go to like activation, and then you'd click on update, which never kind of makes sense that you'd go to activate to do an update, but that's where they put it. Now it's actually right on your settings screen. And what they've done is they've really kind of made it, to me, almost easier for novices to understand, kind of, putting this in here. So like for display, these are options. HDR is a new feature that's built into Windows 10. And I think the reason is that, our company was founded in, what we said, 1962. And we started selling typewriters, and then we started selling calculators and cash registers, and eventually got into, word processors and then computers. And back in the day, desktop computers were like the catch me out. Like we were selling hundreds of desktop computers to schools, government, people walking in. Well, over the last few years, the desktop computer market has really changed. And I've seen it where, and I screwed up because I predicted like during the pandemic that a lot of people would be buying newer desktop computers, but they'd be like entry level, like Core i3. Well, what I found, and actually the industry has found, is that most of my sales of desktop computers now are high end. They're i5, a lot of i7s and a lot of i9s with lots of memory, with big hard drives, a lot of everything like high end. And my entry level computers sales are really minimal. So I have inventory of i3 processors I've had for over a year now that I'm gonna eventually probably sell them. But I thought that there'd be a market for that. So business for the desktop computers is really gravitated towards gaming, graphics, high-end type of applications. And
I'm screening.
and a lot of, exactly, so which works better on a faster computer. And therefore, that's, the sales are down number-wise, but the average cost per computer is really gone up. I think people are figuring when they buy a computer, they want to get a good one to last a long time. So why get a $499, entry-level computer, go a little bit better. On the other hand, notebook sales and Chromebook sales absolutely through the roof. I mean, I didn't bring the stat, but like Lenovo, their sales increased, 43% year over year, which for a company selling billions and billions of dollars, that's a big increase in sales. We can't keep some notebooks. I mean, we get them in and they go out the door as quick as we get them. The same thing with notebooks is people are i5s. I have customers come in and say, I won't touch an i3, even though quite frankly, an i3 processor with 8 gigs of memory and a solid state hard drive for doing most everything you would personally do at home is fine. But the perception is let's get a i5, which is fine for us. I mean, the average ticket price is higher. So I'm pretty much in stocking mostly all 5 laptops. And anyway, that gets back to the HDR. HDR is feature that's built into some high-end monitors, but not necessarily an entry-level monitor. And it allows you to take older games that maybe aren't so pretty in graphics and make them look sharper. I did some last night, some like YouTube videos, and you really can't tell on like my laptop monitor the difference, but supposedly they do make the graphics better. Windows 11 also has Xbox built in because Microsoft sees the writing on the wall. They know that gaming is a big thing. I mean, esports, you've heard of esports?
Yeah.
There's millions of dollars. The kid that bought the computer that screwed it up, his mom's like, how much money are you gonna make from these playing games online? And I'm like, you know, I don't know, it depends how good you are, but I don't think you want to play in your retirement around this kid that screwed up his computer. But anyway, so the gaming business, they're building that into the operating system, which is kind of cool. So that's HDR. You go back to settings here, sound, which we were in there a lot earlier trying to get our YouTube videos to work. And I had some really cool YouTube videos for you guys to listen to. That was a lot better than me, but we're not going to be able to play those, so you're just going to have to
We can
listen.
try and see if the blue snowball will pick it up.
Okay. Well, we can do that. Matter of fact, let's give that a shot. Why not? Here we go. This is a test of Mickey's engineering skills.
Let's see, I'm not sure it's even gonna.
I think I had it under Chrome. This doesn't work, I can turn it off, so. It's in their bookmarks. This is the commercial that you may see possibly on TV. Who knows if Microsoft's gonna throw any money into Windows 11. Can you see it?
We can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
You can see it? I can make some sound effects.
Sing.
Turn yours back. What's your?
Turn my volume up.
Yeah, turn it up.
Yeah, but I think I might be muted. Anyway, this will give you a visual. This is pretty short. And it kind of just shows you how the curved corners, the way the icons look, it's kind of more of a Chrome Apple type look. You know, there's our start menu. And they're really big on that blue, whatever that's, it's a flower, what that is. That was on your, what was on the newsletter? Windows 11.
Yeah, I'm starting to recognize
Go ahead and try unmuting your audio. And see what happens.
Should I put it on Epson or speaker?
Speakers.
Oh, there it goes. No, that's muting my microphone. But
Yeah. Oh. Muted and- No speaker.
okay, well, it's not a big deal. Can you still see my video with no sound?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm talking to the people at home.
Oh.
We'll try one more thing.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, pause it for a minute, let's let it play. Could you guys hear that? Could you hear that, Richard?
I don't think they can hear anything. Probably can see the video.
Negative.
Oh, you couldn't hear that?
All right, let's get out of here.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Can you hear me now?
A bunch of echo.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and mute your audio again. Right, sorry.
Okay.
Go up top.
My audio is muted. Well, Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. I'm just thinking about like when Taylor Swift does a concert and they've got about 50 computers and lighting effects and amplifiers, how they pull that off and they go from city to city. I mean, that is quite a
Yeah.
task
Set that
to,
all up.
and then make it all work, because if it doesn't work, people want their money back.
Right.
That's incredible. I mean, we're trying to get crazy
And the
computer to work on Zoom.
Internet at the facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is when we have multiple computers.
Yeah, I should, well, I could have brought a projector with
No,
me.
that's okay.
Yeah, we don't sell to LCC. They give us the excuse that they only buy off a state contract, which is basically a purchasing agent's lazy way of saying that they paid more money for equipment, so salespeople don't bother them. Which I hate when they do that, because it just wastes our taxpayers' money. So if you know anybody at LCC, tell them I said that. Anyway. All right, so let's just bop around here a little bit. If you have a Windows 10 computer, which is probably most of you, there's a thing you can download for free called the PC Health Check. And that's what this is here. And what it does, it's pretty cool, is it scans the hardware of your computer and just basically tells you whether you're good for Windows 11 or not. And if not, it'll tell you what you need to do to make it work.
Does it actually work now?
I don't know, I haven't used it enough. My guess is probably not, since it's Microsoft, but it might. This computer that I'm on obviously passed the test because it has Windows 11 on it. But I can do the check now, and we see the results. And if you look at the results, it tells us that, okay, great news. So that's good. We exceed the minimum specifications. So, you know, we have secure boot enabled, TPM is enabled. This is Windows, this is a 11 gen processor, i7 that I'm using. I've got 16 gig, it only wants 4 gig. I got a 512 gig SSD, it only needs 64 gig. This is a quad core processor, they only needs 2 core. And I'm running a 2.8 gigahertz, and all it needs is 1 gigahertz. So this is something, if it pops up a window in your computer, and it will do this over the next 6 to 8 months, asking you about Windows 11, you know, for an automatic update, it's going to run this test before it lets you do the update. A lot of times, if you, like I said earlier, if you run a BIOS update before you do this, it'll pass the test. Or if you don't run the BIOS update, it'll say you need to enable TPM, in which case you don't know how to do that, it won't load Windows 11, or you do a BIOS update and it should let you do it. So that's kind of the secret to make it work right. So, you know, it's telling me, this is kind of cool stuff. I mean, it tells you my capacity, 20% full. Last time I did my check and so forth. And this is all just in this PC Health app application. So that's that. Since we couldn't get our YouTube videos to work, which was going to show you all about the settings, we're going to try to do this manually for the first time. Here, we did a little bit of display, notifications icon. You can turn this stuff on and off. I did load Alexa yesterday. How many people use Alexa? We had talked to a box and it kind of talks back to you. Windows 11 allows you to, well, funny joke, yes. He said, is it a kid? Which, yeah, actually some grown-ups too. Windows 11 has a feature that's not quite ready for prime time, because I spent way too much time yesterday wanting to demonstrate this to you, and I just never could get it to work without like the blue screen of death or other illegal bad things, is to be able to run Android applications on Windows 11. So I'll show you this in a minute, but there's a new Windows Store. In the Windows Store, they somehow teamed up with Amazon to enable you to run Android apps, which is kind of cool because there's a lot of games and so forth that you might want to run. However, it's not really integrated into Windows 11 right now. It probably will be an update at some point. So there's about 8 steps that you have to go in to load. It's basically loading Ubuntu, which is a Linux operating system, running as like a virtual machine, which is a little bit technical. And as it's running as a virtual machine, which is supposed to be transparent to the end user, that then enables you to download the Linux programs off the Microsoft Store, which will actually be sort of through the Amazon store, which is in the Microsoft Store. So it's a long story short, but I was able to get it to sort of work. So I put Alexa on the computer, which I've never used Alexa before. So I just have to show you here because it's pretty cool actually. I think what you do is you say Alexa, where are we, Alexa? Alexa,
I wonder if we're not hearing it because.
what day is it? Oh, she's talking, but I
Right,
can't hear her.
Your audio is.
She said it was November 9th, 2021. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I asked her some questions like, does she have a boyfriend? And, she said she's single. All right. So that's Alexa.
That's pretty cool.
Another cool feature that I have that I put yesterday was, okay, how many times are you on your computer, a Windows computer, and your cell phone makes a beep that you got a text? So what do you do? But you go in your pocket, you pull out your phone, you turn it on, you go to your text, icon, and you scroll through to get your text, or you open your purse up, it's in your purse. So it's a little bit inconvenient, but oftentimes your phone is kind of close to the computer because people usually carry their phones with them everywhere they go nowadays. So what you can do with Windows 11 is this kind of a cool app where right now I've got my phone synced to Windows. So if somebody wanted, well, let's do this. I go to photos, and that's last night. You can't really tell I had a bottle of wine as I was reading through your guys' newsletter, trying to come up with some sense of what this meeting is going to be about. But anyway, so there's pictures. Now my messages, there's my text messages. Xfinity, my house in Florida, somebody drove over my cable box. So Xfinity is the cable company down there. Actually, they're part of Comcast, and they couldn't get in the house because it was being rented out. But anyway, they're going to stop there today. So what I can do here, though, is let's just do this. Here's my phone, and I'll turn on my camera, and everybody smile. This is for the people at home that can't see. I maybe have to go back. I'm not going to put this on Facebook. This is just between you and. I'm not going to go get you probably. All right, so there's my picture. All right. Now this might not work, but technically it's supposed to go into my photos and sync automatically through Bluetooth. Now you have to have Bluetooth on your phone, which basically sucks your battery dry, but for this demonstration, I figured why not, right? So now, this is it. Let's see if it works. If I go to my photos, oops, my calls, my photos. Oh, it's refreshing. Sorry about that. Maybe I'm making it run too fast here. Photos refreshing. Come on, you can do it.
Does this say offline?
We can't connect to your.
It says Moto G
You
Pass
cannot
offline.
connect to your Android.
Well, maybe our Bluetooth off. I told you this was a work in progress here. So
Yeah.
it's,
Well, I know that your phone app is on Windows 10.
well, I'm on airplane mode because
Oh, okay.
that might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this again.
Well, your pictures are still syncing, so you don't need to take another. There we go.
Hey, connected. And I have 90% battery life. I don't even have to look at my phone to know how much battery life I have. I go to photos.
There it is.
So there it is. I didn't have to connect my phone with the cable to see my pictures. Because how many times do you take pictures on your phone, you want to get them onto your computer? And there's a lot of ways of doing it. If you have like a SD card, or you plug a cable, USB cable in, or what I do sometimes, I'll email myself a picture and do it through that way. This is kind of cool. When you take pictures, it kind of automatically syncs and puts them on your computer. So that was kind of a cool feature. Plus, I don't know if anybody wanted to do it, but if somebody wanted to send me a text message, it does work. You go to messages and your text message will show up here, and I could actually create a new message. So if somebody wanted to give me their phone number, I could actually send somebody a text. So I could actually send text and receive text on my computer, my Windows computer, from my Android phone. And I don't know if it'll work with an Apple. How many people have Apple phones?
It should work.
It might work.
Because you're sending out, right?
Yeah, it's just a Bluetooth connection, but I had to put an app on here for
Oh,
it.
really?
Yes.
How close does your phone need to be?
Bluetooth, I'd say
About
10
30
feet,
feet.
well,
at
30
the
feet
most,
pushing it,
at
but
the
yeah,
most,
pretty close. Actually, I'm really cheap with my phone. I got like a really cheap phone, and I
Right there with you.
think I have 16 gigs of RAM, and all my apps take up so much of my space. I don't have any room. Like I take pictures, I have to either delete them or transfer them because. So I need a new phone. I just put a McDonald's app on. You know how many points I've got from McDonald's? Oh, you're gonna ask. This is like a Johnny Carson commercial. Karnak, I've got. I'm logging into my McDonald's app. This is all about computer.
I use McDonald's app all the time.
17,433.
Wow.
Wow.
Points.
What's that, a Big Mac?
That is, no, that's actually, no,
Probably,
You gotta store.
5 Happy Meals or something.
I wish.
Oh, it's not.
I actually got the McRib the other day. I'm not a big fan of the McRib. Anyway, okay. For 6,000 points, I can get a Big Mac. So at 17,000, I could actually get almost 3 Big Macs. But I prefer a quarter pounder, which I could also get for the same deal. But anyway, so what I'm trying to show you is Windows 11 here. The point is that I
You
can
wanna
connect.
You want to do a text?
You want to try text? All right.
440
Let's do this. This is the first time we've ever done this. 440
782
782
0110.
0110. And
I'll click down and send it back there.
I'm not a very good typist on laptops. All right, and then so it's sent. So technically,
Hey, got it.
you got it. See, it works. It works. So I could actually send and receive text while I'm working on my computer at home, not even have to touch my phone. Isn't that cool? Yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah.
The other thing that Microsoft did with Windows 11 is how many people use Teams? Teams. All right, Teams.
Oh, the Zoom.
Yeah.
Wannabe, I told you, wannabe.
Well, here's the joke in the industry is that the only people that use Teams are Microsoft employees because they're forced to use it. Now, with that being said, my daughter teaches in the Osceola County school system in Florida, and they do all use Teams. Teams is basically Zoom. It's just a lot more difficult to understand. There is some integration things that you can do from a server level platform, but how many people have heard of Skype? I mean, Skype's been around for a long time. The way it looks like Skype is going bye-bye and Teams is going to be the new Microsoft Skype because Teams is now built into Windows 11. Now, the one thing that I'm not so like about Teams is that it is like very obtrusive. Like when you load Microsoft Office, it just puts Teams there. And every time I start my computer up, it loads Teams, whether I want to or not. Now I can uninstall it or tell it not to do that, but the default is to always load on startup. And I think Zoom is just a better operating system. But just an FYI, that Teams is being pushed by Microsoft and it may catch on. I mean, just like their Microsoft Edge. I mean, how many people use Edge browsers now?
That's my second brother.
Occasionally.
Okay, well, Edge is improved. They claim it's, I forget, they said like 6% faster in Windows 11 than it is in Windows 10. And Edge is basically Google Chrome with a different interface. It's the same base because they changed it. The original Edge was garbage that nobody really liked. Well, actually, some people did like, but my last meeting, one person raised their hand that they liked the old Edge. I forget who that was. They're here. But the new Edge is actually pretty good. If you use it, it's a little bit different, but it's okay. I use Brave at work because I don't like people tracking like everything I go to. DuckDuckGo is another one that's a pretty popular one. But some people like to be tracked, I guess. Which, you know,
They got commercials sent.
yeah, they like to get pop-ups about what they're interested in. So, you know, and I guess that's okay. Anyway, so this is this. The Microsoft Store has been improved. Eventually, it'll be even better once they get Android built into it. So, you know, these are all of the apps, and how many people really ever go to the Microsoft store? I mean, I guess most people don't. I mean, like movies, I would never think about going to the Microsoft store to rent a movie. I would do like Amazon Prime.
Who's written?
Yeah. The library.
Yeah. But I do say this, that under gaming, and us old timers, some of these games are kind of cool. If you go to gaming, they've got some cool games here that are. Where was it at? Let's see, I think I clicked on gaming here. There we go. These are like the old style games. If we go down to the bottom, because they always put it at the bottom. Classic games. And these are all free. And you know, people play cards, maybe blackjack. You know, there's solitaire, mahjong. I noticed that they now have solitaire built into the base version of Windows 11. I think with Windows 10, you had to download the solitaire app from the store to get it. Because for some reason, the one thing that stuck with Microsoft ever since, is it Windows 3.0 when they put solitaire in?
I think so.
Solitaire and Free Cell and what is it? Was it Minecraft? Might have been
Minesweeper.
Minesweeper. Yeah, those people just can't get away from that stuff. So now they put it into the operating system. So these are all kind of cool free games. You know, you wonder how good of a game it can be, like if only 613 people in the entire world, you know, made a review of it.
Yeah,
But
do you ever review stuff? So
no,
you use it and don't review
usually
it?
the only review is when it's a bad review.
Exactly.
That's true. So anyway, there might be some things in Windows 11 store, like jigsaw puzzles. I noticed, you know, my wife is a big Sudoku fan. I don't know what she enjoys so much about it, but it seems to keep her busy. So, well, she's retired from the school, so you know, she's home all day. Anyway, so that's the Microsoft Store. There will be an Amazon. I just couldn't get it to work right. Option here, which will let you download, like I said, the Android apps at some point. That'll be an update. So the stories that with my video that I was going to show you that doesn't work is the idea is you don't really have to run out and upgrade to Windows 11 right away because it's more cosmetic improvements than it is like that many feature improvements. I've showed you, you know, most of the feature improvements already. Oh, themes, I can show you themes is another kind of new
You
thing.
can text me that the URL for that YouTube video. We'll try it on this computer.
Oh, okay.
Which
Well,
one you want, if each one you wanted me to try.
well, I had one that was 11 minutes long because I knew I had to fill 2 hours. So
Well, no, we don't have to go that
We
far.
got started late too.
I know. Well, you guys are helping me out here by having these technical difficulties.
Glad to oblige.
I think it was, well, this was the link to just download. Well, I can show this on here. This is easy. Okay, if you wanted to be the first adopters and get Windows 11 right away, because you don't want to wait for the automatic update to kind of force you to do it. If you go, just Google search, you know, Windows 11 update or upgrade assistant Windows 11, and you're going to get a screen sort of like this here.
Make sure it's from Microsoft.
Make sure it starts with Microsoft.com. It doesn't have some weird like stuff, although there's weird stuff after this. But yeah, if you don't go to a Microsoft site to do this, you could bring your computer into our office and we'll reinstall your operating system for $99 and do the updates for you.
Unless you're obnoxious.
And a gamer.
Oh, yeah, right. So you got some options when you do this. If you currently have Windows 10, you could download the update and it just runs the update and be patient. It takes a while. There's several reboots. And what's kind of weird is you do have to have some operator intervention where it would be nice if you could just say install and walk away and have dinner and come back and it's done. But like I'd go back to this laptop and I'd have to click like next or agree to an okay. I'm sure it's maybe legalese that Microsoft has to have you agree to, but whatever it is. And also, you know, when we buy Windows 11, because we're kind of cheap as a company also, is we buy it with a DVD included. You can also buy it with a USB stick included, but it costs us like $2 more. So the way I look at it is our customers really aren't probably going to be installing the operating system. And how many people have DVDs in their computers?
Yeah.
few people.
You got a laptop.
Yeah, the laptops nowadays have gotten so skinny that there isn't any space for a DVD player. And even desktops, for the most part, used to be that, well, used to be, I'm sold, like the floppy disk drives used to be included, even the 5 1/4 floppy disk drives way back. But now it seems like DVD players are just an option because what Netflix has completely switched to streaming. I was like, you can get DVDs off Netflix anymore. And you used to have those boxes in like by Drug Mart where you could like have a DVD. I don't know if they may still be around, but for the most part, the internet connections in people's houses are fast enough to be able to watch videos and movies streaming and not have to have a DVD. So the point is that you can create your own installation media and put it on a USB stick to reinstall it if you happen to buy a computer that only comes with a DVD ROM, or I can make somebody a USB stick. Or you can just download an ISO, which is basically the whole operating system in a file, and then do whatever you want with it, type of thing. So that's how you can upgrade your existing Windows 10 computer to Windows 11. Let's see here. I'm not sure if anybody wants to watch an 11-minute video.
That's fine, yeah. That's fine.
So let's
Yeah, we can
skip
just share
that.
that after.
Yeah. Okay, so what else do I have in my handy dandy box here? Oh yeah, they kept saying you can move the taskbar to the left. And I said, when I did a YouTube video, and it was a pre-Windows 11, and YouTube guy who was an expert said, you can't move the taskbar. So apparently between the pre-production and this production, you can, because if you go to settings and you go to personalization, this is kind of cool. You can actually make the computer the way you want it, but you go to taskbar, and these are items that you can, have on your taskbar. This happens to be a touchscreen laptop. I'm not sure whether that would show up if it was a non-touch screen or not. But here's your taskbar behaviors. And I can hide my taskbar. But this is something you must have added. The only option is you can go left or you can go center, but you can't go right because I guess you cover up the date and time. So if I go left, see how that kind of moved? You can see that, but the start button moved to the left. Because as you add more items to the taskbar, if it's in the center, it's going to kind of keep making it bigger and like expand that way. Now, if you keep adding items to the taskbar, they're going to keep putting it to the right. Of course, you can move them around, but to the right of your last item. So I'll keep it the way Microsoft likes, which is in the center for now. If we go back to settings, they did add a lot more themes. And I don't know how many people really play around with themes, but I figured I'd put this fall theme on since technically it's, well, not technically, it is fall. But I can go down here and browse my themes. And these are all in the Microsoft Store. And there's some pretty cool ones. I'm thinking like in the middle of winter, like this sun and sand would be a pretty nice one.
Fish and corals.
Fish and corals. Remember there used to be,
I think scroll down.
what was the operating system that you had that option to have the fish moving
The
around?
aquarium.
The aquarium, remember that? Was that
Screen
Windows
saver.
XP maybe? Yeah, that was pretty cool. Actually, people love that. They could sit there mesmerized watching.
Now I have the
Fish.
Roku stick, and the Roku has an option for
Oh, it does? Okay.
the fish and corals, and it's moving, and it's just hypnotic.
Yeah, I'm not happy with my Roku stick because for the last 2 weeks, they kept saying, right in the middle of a TV show, an update available. And then they would go to like the SmartCast, which is my TV set. It's one of the cheap Vizio TVs. And then it's like I'd lose, I have to go back to my Roku, go back, could I have YouTube TV? Could I cut the cable? And it's like I'd be in the middle of a show or middle of a football game, and it would do the update. Well, yesterday, it came up again. I said, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to buy a new
It's
Roku.
working nice with,
It finally did do the update. So I don't know why I kept popping up checking for updates, but it never updated.
Wow.
It finally did update. But you're right about YouTube TV. You have a YouTube app on your Roku, Because if you go to the YouTube app, there's now a link to YouTube TV, because they're fighting about licensing rights, which it's.
Hello.
Presentation through LCCUG on the issues behind it. I think they did a nice summary of it.
Yeah, one of my customers is GLW Broadband, which is in Grafton, and they run the cable companies in Grafton, I think LaGrange and maybe Wilmington. And we golfed with this guy who's the Sports Time Ohio back then before he went to Valleys. He sells, basically his job is to sell companies like GLW the option to carry Indians baseball. But this price is, they charge basically whatever the market will bear, because they know if they don't have it on, the customers are going to complain. And they only have so much they can charge the viewers, because cable prices keep going higher and higher and higher. It's mostly because of the sports program. And some people don't even watch sports, yet they're paying for all of these channels that they never watch. And it was just fun golfing with these guys, fighting back and forth. Like, we're just a little small cable company. We can't afford, it's like, no, if you can't afford it, then we won't have to sell it to you. He was a really, really good golfer. So apparently he must do this a lot. I'm not sure how many affiliates the Indians have, but they have a few. So anyway, these are the themes that you see. There's a lot of them, and they're all free.
But there are some you can buy as well.
Yeah, here's something I found really interesting that maybe somebody could explain this to me. And I used to be a gamer a little bit when I was younger. I used to play like Duke Nukem, and my kids used to have a lot of games on CDs that they would play. But this game here, maybe you could tell me, this is called Forza Horizon 5. And it looks to me like it's a car type of a racing game, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But do you see how much money they want to charge for that game? $100.
Right.
Now I'm thinking, okay, it's got 2.25 stars, and you want $99.99. And if somebody wants to give me a credit card, we can install it and see how it works.
Maybe not.
But I just think that's
strange.
a kind of a high.
A lot of times when things
What's on the
are,
right?
This must be the old version. Well, this is Forza Horizon 5 Premium. I don't know.
It says Game Pass, whatever.
Maybe with the Game Pass, you can get it.
Subscription?
no,
Is a Game Pass a subscription?
You have to have a subscription to pay for Game Pass.
yeah.
So I just wonder if anybody had
I'll
played
take
that
3 Roblox.
game before. Yeah, but you're right. Some of the themes you can pay for, which, not to get off the subject, which I've gotten off all meeting, but Apple, the biggest revenue maker for Apple is their store, the Apple Store, because there's lawsuits back and forth all the time between Apple and the software developers. Because if you write an app for Apple, you can't sell it yourself on your own website. You have to give Apple exclusive rights to have it on their Apple Store. So, okay, I'm a software developer and I've come up with this really nice program that's really cool that people are going to like. And I have 2 options. One is I can let Apple put it on their store, which is a huge thing because Apple makes sure it's safe. You're not going to get a virus. So people feel comfortable buying things from Apple Store. But Apple takes a huge cut.
Yeah.
I've heard 50 to 75% of that amount that they sell it for goes to Apple. So the poor software developer really gets a pittance for all the work that he did. Or he can put it on his own website, try to market it himself, get full value for it. But he wouldn't get sued, but he wouldn't probably sell as much.
Because he doesn't have.
So the argument is that Apple just as outrageously charges their developers to put software on their app store, which I get it, both sides. But if that ever would change, because Apple, their stock is like way in the stratosphere. I think they're the most valued company in the world. And if somehow there would be some lawsuit or something that would prevent open market where they would be allowed, because when Microsoft, you guys all know this because you're computer people, when Microsoft and Bill Gates first came out with Windows, Microsoft, DOS, it was actually IBM who bought it, and it was called PC DOS. But Bill Gates was smart when he said, okay, you guys can use it, but I also want to be able to sell it myself. So IBM got it first, and they were really successful with it. But then you had MS-DOS, which became what it is today, because Microsoft, and even today, when you buy a computer that has Windows on it, you don't own Windows. You own a license to use it. So if Microsoft ever said, I want my Windows back, you have to give them their Windows back because it's not yours, it's theirs. You're just licensed to use it. So they're kind of smart the way they did that. You know, Apple's not the same train of thought. So anyway, to get off the subject, but that's kind of what, you know, how that market is. What else do we have here that we could show? Let's get back to settings. Let's see. Get back to here.
Have you changed your default browser?
My default browser? I think it's still Edge. On this computer?
Yeah.
I don't use Edge at work. I just use, I guess I use,
But you're not running Windows Vet. Have you changed the default browser in Windows Vetting yet?
I haven't. Should we try to do that?
If we have a half hour.
Uh,
You have to change all the file types.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so they really want you to
Yeah, we
use
don't.
Edge.
Oh, yeah.
Take that.
Well, you need to write a software program that can do that with one click. And then we could all get a new projector for this room. Actually let you guys hear videos. All right. Recovery. I mean, how many people know you? Once again, I'm talking to people who know a lot about computers. But you know, if you have a problem with Windows 10 and Windows 11, it's the same thing. You know, you don't have to bring it to a computer store to get it fixed necessarily. Is you can do a reset. And what a reset basically does is it essentially reloads the operating system, but saves all of your pictures, music, documents, and so forth. However, you lose all your programs. So it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it does save you having to necessarily pay us, you know, to do the work. And I've done reset before, and it works pretty well. I've actually had to fix people's problems. There's also an option to do a complete recovery, and that is to essentially reformat the whole hard drive from scratch and put it back the way it was when you first got it. How many people back up their computer on a regular basis? You know, we have this room, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 12 people here. How many people are home? I can't really see your hands, but 2 people, okay, 3 people actually back up their computers. And we're all computer people.
Many times as we're told.
And, you know, okay, how many people have like pictures on their computer?
Those I have.
So what would happen if your hard drive went belly up and you lost all your pictures and you can't recover them? I've had grandparents in tears when they'd come into our office and they had all their grandkids' pictures and they had all these events, their birthdays and Christmases and Thanksgivings, and the hard drive crashed. And I give them a pamphlet and say, you can get your pictures back, but it's going to cost, and it's going to be into the mid-hundreds of dollars to get them back.
But you don't do that, right? You send them to recovery.
And they have to have a clean room where they wear like the masks because they can't have any dust. They disassemble the drive if it's a spinning drive. They take the platters out. And apparently the way hard drive crashes are is there's just one spot on that entire platter that the head is stuck to the platter. So that's the only spot that really has lost data. The data is everywhere else. Hence, you probably heard like you put your hard drive in a freezer to get it cold, or you bang on it with a hammer and sometimes that frees it up, which really never has worked, you know, in my opinion, that well. So what I do in my office is I have, you know, $55 USB hard drive. And it's so simple. You just type the word backup in search and you tell it to back up your documents folder, which everything should be in your documents folder. And the first backup takes a while because obviously you haven't done it before, but then you set it for an incremental backup every week or 2 weeks. You can set a schedule. So you've got yourself at least a backup. And for 50 or 55 bucks, to me, you know, you don't need it. It gets its power right from the USB port. And they're little small things. I just have it sitting on the floor behind my desktop computer. And it's so easy to do because once again, if you had to reset your computer or do a complete recovery of it, if you bring it to me, if I can save the data, I will. I charge $45 to save all the people's data, and I charge $100 to wipe the computer out, reload the operating system, put all the latest drivers and all the latest updates in, and then I can put your data back in again. But you can do it yourself. You don't need a computer company to do that. But you really need to get, because in order to save your documents, if the computer won't boot, is you have to physically remove the drive, connect it to a working computer, and hope that you can access it as like a data drive. So
What software do you use?
I use Windows File Explorer basically.
Oh,
And I just drag and
okay,
drop
okay,
over,
alright.
which works fine from hard drive to hard drive. For imaging
I think
systems,
you're talking about for backup.
for backup, I use the Windows backup. It's free. It's built into
Oh,
Windows.
the backup. that they-
Yeah, actually, we can look at it right here. If I go to, if I type in the word backup, this is how hard it is. You just have to know how to spell backup.
I heard an earlier version of Microsoft had a better version of backup and they took it out and then,
Well, Windows 10 uses Windows 7's backup.
yeah, that's what I guess that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Does it back up your software?
Well, good question. There's two ways of doing a backup. There's your documents backup, which is your stuff, things that you've created, your music, your pictures, your tax returns, your documents, your spreadsheets, all your stuff that's in the documents folder. But if your computer crashes or you get a virus or malware, just something hit the wrong button, and you have to reload your operating system,
With the
And all
program.
your programs and stuff.
everything is gone. But Windows 10 also has what's called a system backup, which is also built right into Windows 10 and Windows 11. And what a system backup requires is a blank USB stick that basically is bootable. I had it in airplane mode, by the way, but you guys maybe too.
When did you take it out?
I get so many calls that are like, I don't know who they are. I never answer them. A system recovery, basically, you have an external hard drive, and it takes a snapshot of your computer at that particular moment. It takes all those millions of files and compresses them into one file and puts them on your external drive. And then, of course, you need to have your bootable media or your bootable USB stick. Because think about it, if you took your hard drive out because it went broke, put a new hard drive in, how are you going to boot it up? So you put your USB stick in, boot off the USB drive, and then you'll see all your images on an external hard drive. So if I did a backup, if I did a system backup a month ago, I could put my computer exactly the way it is from a month ago. But remember, if I do that, anything for the last month is gone. So it's a way of basically making your own recovery CD. Remember back in the old days when you buy a computer, you get like a recovery CDs in the box. So if you ever had to like reload your operating system, you just put the CD in, boot off the DVD, CD or DVD, and it goes through and it just puts the operating system back on again. Nowadays, you just make your own. And it's really not that hard to do.
How did you create the bootable?
It does it through the process, but my problem here is I don't see how to do it now. It says I might need a Microsoft
Well,
account.
that's if you want to use OneDrive.
I don't want to use OneDrive.
I would think
Let's see here. Maybe it's under preferences.
that's what it seems to indicate. But
Let's see.
In other words, on Windows 10, it was more.
With Windows 10, I typed in the word backup and it just brought up the
I
backup.
think control panel's still around. It used to be under control panel, so maybe that's.
It wouldn't be under recovery. Advanced startup reset. That's in case you have a problem.
Right.
Is that something like if when we come to the third Tuesday with the technical help thing that you'd be able to help us do create a.
We could show you how, if you just want,
Might take longer than.
yeah.
The backup
actual backup takes
will take a while because you're backing up everything.
But he could show you how to get started.
I'm not sure if we still have any videos on backups. Did we record any of those programs? We've had programs,
Yeah. Well,
presentations for backup.
Well, let's do this. Let's go to Microsoft Edge. And if all else fails,
Yeah.
I'll
Ask
to
it.
backup data. It's all a question of how you word this as to if I get the right answer or not. Of course, Carbonite jumps right in there because they want you to buy their service, right? Let's
About
see here.
Windows backup in 11.
There's a full backup under Windows Central.
Let's see. To turn on Windows backup and choose a backup setting.
Oh, you have to turn it on.
Oh, why would you have to
That's,
turn it on?
that's not what you want, though. Let's talk about OneDrive.
What's that again?
They're using OneDrive for the file backup.
For their
not the-
cloud space.
Yeah, but we don't want to do that. We want
No,
to back
we
up
wanna
into
do a
an
system
external
backup.
drive.
I think the next one in that search list was from Windows Central, and it said,
Well, they're trying to find it, I just
Full
was.
backup. This one?
Yeah, try that one. That's a full
Say,
backup.
you
That's
wanna
really what you
come
want.
next Tuesday for a workshop
Full backup of that.
troubleshooting,
If
Let
you're gonna
us know.
come, you gotta
let us
email.
know.
You gotta send us an email.
Send a email to Mickey. What time is it gonna be?
10.
10 o'clock,
File history.
bring your laptop, whatever your question.
That's just, but,
And,
oh, system image backup. Oh, wow.
we had about 4 people come last month.
See, that's using the old,
That can't be Windows 11, is it?
yeah, it's using the old control panel. That's the same way
They
Windows
want-
10 did.
They want to get rid of control panel.
It's still there.
Well, yeah, I put it there, but
Yeah.
that needs to go away.
Uh,
All right. So where was it under? That was,
For
Just
a
be
while,
backup
it's-
or just a system. Yeah, it might be. Oh, it was under user accounts. Oh, there's file history right there.
Yeah, but send an email if you wanna come next Tuesday, so.
And-
there's your system image
the
backup.
Right,
others will know.
right.
Restore
there you go.
personal files.
That's it. Yep, system image backup. Oh, so don't tell me they have to have file history on first. Turn that on first.
Well, it's going on noon, so we
Yeah.
can.
All right. Any questions? If you do, ask Mickey.
With Windows 11, when you updated Windows 10 to Windows 11, does it,
Bring everything.
can you use all of the software that you've had on Windows?
Yes, and you have 10 days, not 11, 10 days to go back to Windows 10 if you don't like Windows 11.
Ah.
So I don't know why, maybe you can go back if you don't like it.
Maybe back up first, then
Windows
upgrade.
10 days or 30 days. It's hopefully, I think the, what is it, file checker or system checker or whatever you said, health checker or whatever, should tell you if there's any applications. I think it checks applications as well. I know the one for Windows 10 from 7 told you of any applications that weren't going to work on Windows 10. And I'm thinking that if they were smart, they did the same. thing.
Microsoft said anything that worked on 10 will work on 11,
Okay.
everything.
That
But it's the
makes-
same-
And that makes sense.
Right, it's basically a new interface over an existing shell.
Right. It's not like 7 to 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes,
The health check, is that an app you download from the Play Store? or
No,
Is that somewhere on the system?
From Windows, just
Do it
Google
from
the
Microsoft.
Microsoft Health Check,
Just do a
Windows
Google
11
search.
Health Check,
Yeah.
and you'll download it from Microsoft.
it'll do it automatically if you get the prompt to update Windows 11. But if you wanted to do it before you get the update, because what Microsoft doesn't want to do is overload their servers and have how many people are in the world
All at the
all
same time?
downloading Windows 11 at the same time. They would just blow up their servers. So they're going to do incremental rollout. They're hoping by mid 2022, everybody that's got Windows 10 will have had the chance to upgrade to Windows 11. So you can wait, or if you're impatient and don't want to wait, you can do the PC health check, or if you didn't want to do that, you could just download Windows 11 and it'll do the health check anyway.
Oh, it automatically.
It automatically does it because it doesn't want to install.
But if you kind of wonder, is it gonna work? Is that gonna be an option? You just Google
Mm.
Microsoft Health Check.
Yeah, just Google that. But you might want, like I said, my suggestion is,
Glance, is that what you're talking about?
Hmm?
You had a screen that said PC health at a glance.
Right,
yes,
right.
yes. But you would want to definitely upgrade the BIOS of the motherboard before you try this. Because all the computers that have been shipped up till Windows 11, the TPM was disabled. Because it's a pain in the butt, basically. That's going to be a problem now with Windows 11. And the BIOS update essentially turns on secure boot, turns on TPM. Or if you're computer savvy, you can go into the BIOS and not update the BIOS and do it manually. That's up to the end user. Anyway, this screen here, which there's got to be a better way. You shouldn't have to go into control panel to do a backup.
That's the way it was in 10. You had to go into
Well,
control panel. So
Okay, this is disappointing, to be honest. Okay.
they
I mean,
haven't worked on that backup program. It's the same one as Windows
Yeah,
7.
that's what I heard. It was an older version.
Anyway, the bottom line is it works. It does work.
Yeah,
You
it
see at
does
the bottom,
work.
it says system image backup.
It does
When you
work.
go to system image backup, that's where it creates that USB stick and it backs up the whole hard drive onto one file.
or USB drive if you're using
Yeah.
like that.
And see, this is good. See, I'm around batteries. Now, this is supposed to be an all-day battery life. But because I have Bluetooth turned on,
Wow, it really makes a difference.
I get about less than 2 hours of life on this thing, so not good. Good thing we're almost done, because I don't have this plugged into electric.
Right. She wants to pay you.
Okay.
Any more questions? Like I said, I've got some trinkets in the back. I don't know if you guys want to just throw them at people or
All
whatever.
right, well, you want to, closing statements or anything, or you're done?
I think, yes, I just want to thank Glenn. He's always easygoing and talks naturally, and I always get a lot out of his visits. And to remind folks to send an email to maybe one of us saying you want to come next
Troubleshooting at
Tuesday.
LCCUG.com.
Troubleshooting@lccug.com works.
Right.
Keep it consistent.